Hey, how's it going? Today I'm giving a race recap for Disneyland Halloween Half Marathon Weekend 2025.
This is Running to the Castle, a podcast for injury-prone Run Disney runners on a journey to running magical miles. Join me, Dr. Allie, as I share the secrets I've gathered as a runner, doctor of physical therapy, and coach. You'll learn the exact ways I get my clients to the castle strong without feeling broken or held together with KT tape as they cross the finish line.
So at the time of recording this, I am a couple of days back from Halloween Half Marathon Weekend at Disneyland 2025. It's unfortunately the last one of this race for the foreseeable future. As you know, after Disneyland Half Marathon Weekend 2026, that's coming up in January, the end of January, beginning of February, these races are going on a hiatus. They are going to be doing Disneyland construction, and so the races are taking a back seat. So I'm not going to talk a whole lot about the logistics of these races, of this race in particular, because it could change if these races ever come back. I hope they do come back. We do know that Disneyland went on a hiatus in 2017 and they did come back in 2024. That was a 7-year hiatus. I have no idea how long this hiatus is going to be for this next group of races. Hopefully they will come back, and hopefully when they come back, they will be better than ever. So for those of you who don't know, I did the 5K, 10K, and half marathon at this race weekend. And let me tell you, it was so good. It was so good. I had so much fun. I got to meet so many runners just in general, but so many of you who listen to this podcast, who follow me on Instagram, who use my training plans. And my God, it was so cool to meet you and hear how well your training went and how good you were feeling over race weekend. I cannot thank you enough for coming up to me. And I know it can be awkward. You technically don't know me and we're meeting in real life. It's nerve-wracking. It can seem a little awkward, but it's not awkward. I absolutely loved every single time somebody said, Allie, Running to the Castle podcast? Are you the Allie that made the training plans? Yes. It made my day. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for coming up, introducing yourself. I do recognize your names. If you give me a little bit of context, somebody came up and I recognized the name and I said, oh, we've been emailing back and forth. Now I have a face to the name. It was so cool to be able to do that because in a previous life, I was seeing all of my clients or people who were using my training plans and workouts and things like that. I was seeing them in person. So I kind of knew them. But this time around, now the past couple of years, since like 2022, 2022 I've been doing the online thing. So I don't necessarily know you, whether you use a free training plan or work with me in Stronger, Faster, Finisher, or you're a one-on-one client. Yes, maybe we have some face-to-face interaction on the computer, but it's so different and it's so cool to be able to meet you in person. So thank you so much for coming up and saying hi. And if you saw me or didn't see me and didn't get a chance to say hi and you see me at a race in the future, please, please come up and say hi. I would love to meet you. Okay, let's get into the race weekend. So Disneyland, California. I live in Las Vegas, so it's like an hour flight from here to go from Vegas to LAX, and then another 45 minutes or whatever based on traffic to get down to Disneyland. So I stayed at the Grand Californian. It was so worth it. If you're ever wondering, oh my God, is it actually worth it? It was so worth it to be able to walk down and be right in downtown Disney. So worth it. Loved it. Loved every second of it. I did the 5K, the 10K, and the half marathon. So I came in on Thursday afternoon. Of course, my hotel's not ready yet. That's no problem. They took my bags, held on to them, and I went straight to the expo. And I needed a virtual queue. So that was something that I did not expect. I thought the virtual queue would only be needed in the morning and that I would be able to go and pick up my pre-ordered merchandise, no problem. But that was not the case. And actually, now that I've even said that, I thought pre-ordered merchandise was going to be in a separate area and I could just go and pick that up and then come back for the regular merch later. That was not the case. I needed a virtual queue to get into merchandise. I needed a virtual queue to get into the pre-ordered merchandise because they were in the same area. I decided to not even look at the Brooks shoes. It was not a top priority of mine. I didn't want to get into another virtual queue, so I decided I'm not going to do this on Thursday. If I want to come back on Friday or Saturday, I will. And then, to be honest, I just didn't do it. I think that the mini shoes are very cute, but I don't like red. I would rather have pink. If you've ever seen my ears, they are the pink polka dot mini. And that's the color that I would prefer. So I'm holding out to see if they ever do a pink polka dot mini or maybe just one of the other race weekend themes. And then I can go from there. So I decided, you know what? I'm not absolutely in love with them. I'll leave them to other people who are. Halloween time in general, not my favorite. So I wasn't going to take the Halloween shoes. I did the Halloween race because of Pain and Panic. So that was really why I wanted to do this Disneyland race, was the Pain and Panic challenge. And then since I was already there for the 10K and the half marathon, I said, well, I'm already there. 5K is still open. Might as well join for the 5K. That was my exact thought process for signing up for these races. And then I was walking around downtown Disney. I was on the phone with one of my sisters and I was talking to her and I was like, people always ask me, which do I like better? Halloween Disney or Christmas Disney? And I never really had a response. And I was like, but I have a response right now. I'm walking around here right now thinking to myself, I wish this was Christmas. So I guess there you have it. I prefer Christmas Disney. But the weekend itself, the races themselves, I had so much fun. So Friday morning 5K, woke up at 2:45 in the morning because the race starts at 5. I did not want to be late. I would rather be early to the corral and waiting around in the corral than waiting in my room or worrying about having a long security line, getting to the starting line late after the race started, or what have you. So woke up 2:45 and I like a leisurely wake up. If you have listened to the podcast before, you know that part of my daily routine is I wake up in the morning, I go get my coffee, and I crawl back into bed and I drink my coffee over half an hour. I leisurely sip on my coffee. I do look at my phone. I scroll Instagram. That's fine. Royal feeds Levi. When Levi's done eating, he comes back for his post-breakfast nap and joins me in bed, usually laying his head on the pillow, staring at me while I drink my coffee. So I feel like somebody's watching me because they are. And then he falls asleep again. So I like to recreate that when I travel, when I can. And I could this time. I was there alone. My husband Royal did not come with me. So I was there alone. So I got my 2:45 wake up all by myself. So I woke up. I bring an electric tea kettle. So I heated up some water, made some instant oatmeal. Oatmeal is a great pre-race meal for me. So that's what I had. I put a little protein powder in it, not because the protein powder itself is actually going to help me in my race. It's going to keep me fuller longer, but the carbs of the oatmeal is what helps me. And then I had a Coke. So 16.9 fluid ounces to get 54, I think it's 54, maybe 55 grams of carbs. And I slowly sipped on that. You might be thinking, Allie, how are you having that much carbonation before a race? I'm not. I made my Coke flat. I opened it the night before. I shook it up a little bit, made it go flat, put it back in the fridge to make it easier to drink in the morning. That way my belly was not full of bubbles, but I got all of the carbs. Now, in previous race weekends, before I knew as much as I know now about carb loading, I used to drink one of those Starbucks espresso shots, like the small can and it has like milk or whatever in it. I don't really know. I used to do those for the caffeine in the morning. And now knowing what I know, I opted for a Coke because of the amount of carbs that I can get first thing in the morning. Of course, it's more liquid, it's more fluid, but it's significantly more carbs. So I can use that as part of my carb load, pre-race carb load. Then I started getting ready. And you know what? I missed this whole thing. The night before, I set out everything. So even for the 5K, I was going to have some fuel because I was carb loading for the 10K and the half marathon. So even though it's quote unquote just a 5K, and I don't use that to diminish the 5K, but time wise, you technically don't need fuel during a 5K race. But because I was carb loading for the 10K and the half marathon, I did need to make sure that I was having carbs. So got my Nerds gummy clusters all organized, and I just had everything organized the night before and was ready to go. Went in the elevator downstairs, and as soon as I stepped off the elevator, there were other runners who were getting ready to leave. So I just followed the pack. And because the race started in Disneyland, I just walked through downtown Disney, and then I was there. Then I was at security, ready to go through. Security didn't open just yet. It opened at 4, so I stood in line, but as soon as the line opened up, it moved right along. Walked down Main Streets. People were taking photos in front of the Mickey pumpkin, so I got in line. I was a bit bummed that there was no photo pass there. Now, with these Disneyland races, PhotoPass was included, so I thought there were going to be more PhotoPass opportunities at the expo and at Disneyland. I talked to my sister who has done Disneyland races before. I had not done Disneyland races before, and she said she didn't quite remember, but she didn't think that there were very many PhotoPass opportunities at the expo. That was a big difference between Disneyland and Disney World. So I was bummed about that, but a nice stranger took my photo and actually a video of me in front of the Mickey pumpkin because it was so dark that you could barely even see me. So it is what it is. But I was happy to be able to just be there. Then I got in the corral. They had some great entertainment with the race announcers, with some singers. They were dancing and just lighting up Main Street for the half marathon weekend for the 5K. Then we got going and we were going. I decided that I was going to walk the 5K. I was in Corral C and I really wasn't too worried about where I was starting in the corral. So I just got in, and when I was told to move up, I moved up. Well, once I got started in the race, I realized, well, maybe I should have picked up the pace a little bit. I didn't want to exhaust my legs because I was also doing the 10K and the half marathon. But I did not get any photo pass opportunities because all of the lines were closed by the time I got to them. They had been shutting them down because of risk of being swept. Now, the 5K is not officially timed. You do have to keep making forward progress, but the Disneyland cast members and the quote unquote sweepers were keeping tabs on things. So they did close every single photo pass by the time I got there. So that was a bit of a bummer. You live and you learn. Disneyland 5K, you do need to pick up the pace a little bit if you want to get some photos. That's okay. I had my phone. I took video of the different people like Ursula who was there, which Ursula didn't even have a photo pass. It was a flyby selfie anyway, but that's okay. It was all well and good. Then after the 5K, I decided to not go to the parks. Royal and I decided that based on historically, if I get exhausted, if I get too fatigued, you know, anybody would get this way. That's when you're more likely to get sick. And I haven't shared much of this here on the podcast, but we are moving and we were actually supposed to close on the house the Wednesday after race weekend, and I could not afford to get sick. So we decided that instead of me going to the parks every day, I was going to walk around downtown Disney. I was going to hang out by the pool at Grand California and take it easy for that reason. And so that's what I did. On the day of the 5K, I went back to the hotel. I ate. I ordered room service. I ate, showered, just took it easy, leisurely. And then I spent the afternoon walking around downtown Disney, got some food again, and then came back. And I think I came back to the room about 5:30, started winding down with my tea, which is something I have every night before bed. Some chamomile and sleepy time tea. Had that and fell asleep around 7:30, 8 o'clock to get ready for my 2:45 wake up the next day. 10K day, that's Saturday. Woke up 2:45, again, oatmeal and flat Coke. This morning, I did something different because on the 5K, I had brought a little snack with me to have, and I realized my stomach wasn't having it. I didn't have the appetite to eat food. So I took some extra Powerade from the 5K, and I actually brought I did not bring a 5K with me. I brought the Powerade with me to the 10K. So I did bring a snack, but I focused more on sipping on the Powerade to have some extra carbs before the race, because that early in the morning, that much food, trying to put it in my system, my stomach it's not that it couldn't handle it, I just didn't want it. And when you don't want something, it's just really hard to get down. So I decided I'm just going to sip on the Powerade, and that was perfect for me. So that's what I did. And then I started the 10K, and I did run the 10K, and I set my watch so that every half mile I would make a decision. Normally I would do this on the mile, but I decided half mile because of what happened the day before with not getting PhotoPass. I was going to make decisions sooner. It also was warm. So I wanted to make sure that if I needed to slow down, I would do it in half mile increments, or if I needed to speed up, I would do it in half mile increments. So I set my watch so every half mile, my watch dinged me and I got to make a decision. So every half mile I did that. I decided I wanted to stop for Mr. Incredible. I stopped for a photo pass with him. I stopped with Cars, and I wanted a castle photo. I am so glad I decided to stop for that castle photo because I almost didn't. The line was really long, and I wasn't even sure that there was photo pass for it, but there was. But I'm so glad I did, because the other option was doing the castle photo at the half. And if you ran the half, you know that it was a flyby photo pass. There was no stopping. They did have 3 or 4 photo pass sitting in front of the castle taking your photo, but it was not a stop. It was run and get your photo as you're running. So I'm so glad for the 10K that I did stop, because it was a stop in front on the mark and they took your photo. So I got my castle photo. I was really happy about that. So I got Mr. Incredibles, I got Cars, and I got that castle photo. That was perfect for me. I finished the 10K in an hour 37. So ahead of the balloon ladies. I was not worried about the balloon ladies in the slightest. I wasn't even tracking them. And there were no pacers, so I was not tracking 16-minute per mile pacers either. But I ran my own race. I met some other runners. I should mention I met a runner on the 5K who came up to me and said hi. Two runners came up to me and said hi, line to get a photo with my medal. Thank you so much to the runners who came up to me. I really appreciate you saying hi. Then after the 10K, I decided go back to the room, get something to eat, and hang around there for a while. I was going out to dinner at 4, so I had time to kill. And what I decided to do was I edited a podcast episode. Really should have done 2, but that's okay. I did one, and then I went and hung out by the pool. It fascinated me. Now, to each their own, you do you, boo-boo. It fascinated me to hear the number of runners who were running the half marathon the next day who were drinking at the pool. Like I said, you do you, boo-boo, but I could not imagine drinking alcohol, like wine, mixed drinks, any of it, and running a half marathon the next day. Now, this is also me. I don't drink a lot of alcohol in general. I just personally don't like the way it makes me feel the next day. I don't like tasting the drink the next day. You know, you can like taste it in the back of your throat, and it does make me more tired, even if I have just one. So every once in a while, I'll have a glass of wine or I'll make a sangria. Those are my 2 preferred choices. Some like a fruity sangria, a peach something, delicious, mango, so good. But I'll just do it every once in a while. So that's probably part of how I can't imagine me doing it, but to each their own. But there were so many people who were talking about the race the next day while they were sipping on wine next to the pool. And it was just really interesting to me. But I sat at the edge of the pool at one point, put my feet in to just get the cool water going around my legs, loosen up my ankles, and make things feel pretty good. I had already stretched, I had already used my massage gun, and I was just hanging out, having some more Coke and some Powerade and some water, sitting in the shade, obviously, because if you don't know me, I am only one of 2 colors at any given moment, lobster red or Casper white, and I prefer Casper white. So I was in my SPF shirt with my hood, a hat, sunglasses, sunblock, covering my legs, and luckily I was in full shade from the umbrellas that they had at Grand California. But it's a toss-up. You didn't know if you were I didn't know if I was gonna get an umbrella. So I was prepared, and I'm so glad I was, because it could have been bad. And a sunburn is bad, but a sunburn before having to go and run a half marathon, that sounds miserable. So I made sure that didn't happen. Then I went out to dinner and I got to meet one of my clients in Stronger, Faster Finishers. She was so generous to invite me to dinner with her and her family. Now, I thought this was going to be like a 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, done in an hour kind of thing. My goodness, friends, 3 hours. And I feel like we could have stayed there for 3 more had we not had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning the next day for race day. We both needed to go to bed and rest up for the half marathon, but it was good food and it was good company. I had never been to that restaurant in downtown Disney before, and I didn't even tell her this, but I know you're listening. I got the long bao buns. Is that what they're called? The next day, I did takeout order and the cucumber salad because they were so good. So thank you and Bruce and Gray for introducing those to me. Thank you, Amanda. And then I went on my way to my hotel room, had my cup of tea again, set my alarm, and off to sleep I went. And I now use the Aura ring, and I fell asleep in 6 minutes after just finishing my tea. So I was ready for bed. Half marathon day, same old same in the morning, nothing new on race day. So it was oatmeal and a 3 a.m. wake up. I woke up at 3 a.m. because I felt so confident knowing how I was going to get to the half marathon since I had just done it for the 10K the day before. And so I woke up 15 minutes later and I was ready 2 minutes after I had been for the 10K. So I guess I moved faster on the morning of the half marathon. I don't really know, but I was ready to go. So I wasn't going to sit around in my hotel room. And I went down and just started making my way through downtown Disney toward the half marathon start line. Again, I brought some snacks. I brought my Powerade because I knew my stomach. It just didn't want to be eating solid food. It didn't want to be eating solid food first thing in the morning. So I sipped on the Powerade, and then one of my one-on-one clients from last year came up to me and said hi, and we got to have a great conversation in the corrals. We happened to both be in Corral C, and it was perfect. It made the time fly by in the corral because during the 10K, I didn't really talk to anybody. I am actually an introvert. That is surprising to some of you because I have been told that's surprising. But I don't just go up to people and start chatting and have a conversation, but I am very willing to have a conversation if you come up to me. So don't worry about bugging me. But it's just not in my nature to go up to somebody else and just start a conversation. So at the 10K, I didn't. But at the half marathon, she came up to me and we had a great time chatting. And then race started and off we went. And I had mentioned that, castle photo, got a castle photo at the half marathon, but it was a flyby. So I'm really glad that at the 10K, I got that standing castle photo. I also decided to wait in line for the Queen of Hearts, and that line went super quick. I think 2.5 minutes is all I waited. But based on the other characters that were out, Pain and Panic were out at the stage, but it was not a photo pass opportunity. So I went over and I took a video of them because everything's content, right? I took a video of them, but I did not wait in line to get a photo with them. I was good just getting the video. I am bummed that there was no photo pass. And looking back, there was no photo pass for any of the characters that were themes. So that was a bit of a bummer. Half marathon went great. My legs were a little tired from the day before, but totally manageable because of the way I had trained with back-to-back days. I knew what my legs were feeling like. And at the beginning of the race announcers had said that the pacers were going to be going slower because of the heat. And they advised everybody go slower too. So my plan had been to aim for an 11:30 to 12:15 running pace. And I said, you know what? I don't even care. I'm going to take it slow. It's not worth it to me to have heat sickness, to be exhausted, or anything like that. So I decided I'm going to, again, every half mile, I'm going to check in with myself. Do I need to speed up? Should I slow down? So I had that haptic alert every half mile. And that was really helpful for me because then I could make a decision. And I never felt like I needed to speed up. I was not actively tracking Balloon Ladies or the 16-minute per mile pacers. I did have the 16-minute per mile pacers in my tracking queue, on the tracker that RunDisney gives you. You can put things in there. I did have them in there in case I wanted to track them, but I never needed to look. Overall, I finished in 3 hours and 4 minutes. That came out to be about a 13:30 on my watch average, but I ran 13.43 miles. So I ran over a half marathon just based on the way I was traversing the course. If you are unaware, the course is made so that if you took the shortest route possible, you would still run 13.1 miles. So I did not take the shortest route possible. So I did run a little bit more, and that's okay. I got the photo. I mentioned the Queen of Hearts and the flyby castle photo, and then, of course, other photos along the way when I'm running. And that was perfect. The support on the Anaheim streets from, mile 7 onward, because that's where we were on the street, it was so good. Multiple DJs, lots of locals there supporting, yelling, cowbells, megaphones, handing out candy, water, not Gatorade, Powerade. I feel like it was so well supported. I did not appreciate the downhill up or the uphill downhill at mile 9 or so, 8.5, 9, and then that same uphill on mile like 11 or 12. Did not appreciate that, but because I trained it, I knew hills would be part of it. I was ready for it. I decided to walk both of those because of just conserving energy and not feeling overly exhausted, because I know how my quads feel with hills, quads, hamstrings feel with hills. And I said, you know what? I can walk this. And so I did that. That was a decision I decided to make. I was able to do 2 bathroom stops with my pacing and didn't have a worry in the world about the balloon ladies. Now, I know that not everybody feels that way when they're running. And I can appreciate that. It is very worrisome when you start at the back of the corrals, when training hasn't gone according to plan, or you just don't feel ready. I happen to be in the space that I felt ready, and I happened to get a pretty good corral. I was in C. I was not at the front of C, somewhere in the middle, but I knew with my training under my belt, I felt confident that I could finish ahead of the balloon ladies. And for me personally, perseverating on where are the balloon ladies gives me more anxiety, and that would have made me worse off. So I made the mental note, let's not think about that during the race. Can I answer this question of, have I done everything in my power to make it so that I finish ahead of them? Yes or no? And that includes training and race day prep. So that's the actual training that I do. That's the pre-carb loading I'm doing. And that is the race day strategy I have put out there for myself. Now, the race day strategy for me was to start off somewhat slow and progressively get faster. That was the original strategy. That was the original plan. But with the heat, the plan had to change. And so every half mile, I checked in with myself. How am I feeling? Am I feeling like I can keep going at this rate? Or do I need to slow down? Or can I speed up? And I checked in with myself. It was not a long check-in. It was, okay, another half mile done. How am I doing? And most of the time, I just stayed the course. I just stayed steady. I did make sure that my water bottle was always full with Scratch and Liquid IV. And at every single water station, whether I felt like I needed it or not, I took in fluids. I took Powerade when it was offered, and I took water when it was offered to make sure I was staying hydrated and fueled. And I had my Nerd Gummy clusters in my pocket, and I took a handful every mile. So you may be thinking, oh, that's a lot of fueling. That's really often. But by taking little bits more often, I didn't overwhelm my stomach. I didn't feel like I was forcing myself to eat. I just took a handful every mile, and then in the middle chunks of the run, so pretty much when we were on Anaheim streets, mile 7, 8, and 9, I made sure at any of the water stations, I also took a handful of Nerds gummy clusters then. I did not want to fall behind. It is extremely dangerous to fall behind in fueling and hydration on a good day. It's extremely dangerous to fall behind on a hot day. And I was not willing to risk it. And it paid off because I felt great the entire run and afterward. Historically, if I don't fuel enough, within 20 to 30 minutes of finishing a race, I feel incredibly nauseous and I have upper and lower GI issues. Nobody wants that at the finish line. Nobody wants that in the comfort of their own home, but I certainly didn't want it at the finish line. So I knew I needed to keep my fueling up, and it worked tremendously. I felt so good throughout the whole run and afterward. Afterward, I got to meet some of my clients, took some photos with one of them, and I actually forgot to mention I also met some clients after the 5K, and it was so fun. We got to learn about how the race went, how they felt. I got to see 2 other clients of mine finish because I had finished ahead of them, and I went to the finish line and I got to see them finish. And all of my Stronger, Faster Finisher clients crossed that finish line ahead of the balloon ladies, which is a huge feat because life gets lifey. Not everybody's training always goes to plan, and not everybody's race day, even if you do all of the right training, sometimes race day doesn't go according to plan. You could be extremely stressed. Maybe you didn't get sleep last night. Maybe you didn't feel well because your food the night before, maybe you got food poisoning. That has happened to clients in the past. So there are all these different factors, but I can say that everybody who worked with me who ran the Halloween half marathon weekend finished all of their races. And I am so proud of you and the hard work you put in and the fact that you crossed that finish line. So all in all, I would give Disneyland 2 thumbs up. When they come back, I would do them again. But I also can't wait for the Springtime Surprise Challenge at Disney World. And it's going to be so much fun to see how these next few months go with training. I'm going to aim for a proof of time with a 10K. So now we know that proof of time will only make me eligible for proof of time for 10-miler and half marathon. But I'm going to spend the next couple of months before challenge training starts in January. I'm going to spend the next couple of months to build up some speed because, as you know, I don't train my clients with things that are unknown to me. So I'm going to do some different things with speed work to see how that changes how fast I'm going and see if there are new avenues that would work differently, better for my clients. So it will be a fun next couple of months to work on speed in October, November, and December. And there's a 10K I'm eyeing that's local here to me in Las Vegas in December, looking at doing that one. And then start training for the Springtime Surprise 10-miler and challenge starting in January. And so we shall see where it takes us. But overall, Disneyland Halloween Half Marathon Weekend 2025 was so much fun. Congratulations to all of the runners who successfully completed the race that they were completing. And if the race did not go as planned and you have other Run Disney races signed up in the future and you're looking for guidance, please reach out to me, Run Disney DPT on Instagram, and see how we can work together. Stronger, Faster Finisher will open again in the next couple of months. Please take what you've learned in this episode and use it to adjust your strategy for your Run Disney race training. It's not about doing more. It's about doing the right things in the right balance so you can finish strong, not broken. And if you want personalized guidance specific to your race, your injury history, your running background, and your goals, that's exactly what we do inside Stronger, Faster, Finisher. You'll get step-by-step instructions and a proven system to help you train smarter from start to finish. Join the waitlist today to be the first to know when it opens next. That's all for now. Talk to you soon.